Welcome to Dangerous Tides. For those of you who are new here, we've been discussing ships that are associated with or rumored to have been through the Bermuda Triangle. This is the area between the coast of Florida and the Caribbean islands, aptly named for the location in which the area forms a triangle: Florida, Puerto Rico, and Bermuda. For this episode, we will be looking at another mysterious disappearance, this time on a civilian level. And now, the disappearance of the Witchcraft. So step aboard and prepare yourself for dangerous tides. On the evening of December 22nd, 1967, a Florida hotelier by the name of Dan Burak set sail on his cabin cruiser, the Witchcraft, with Father Patrick Horrigan, a Catholic priest and close friend. Burak invited Horrigan to enjoy the view of Miami's Christmas lights offshore, planning to make a short distance and sit out in the dark silence of the Atlantic to take in the panorama of festivity. The two embarked through Government Cut, a man-made shipping canal between Miami Beach and Fisher Island, then headed toward the area where buoy number 7 was located. At 9 p.m. that evening, Burak had sent an unexpected call for assistance to the RCC Miami with a surprisingly calm, steady voice, claiming that he had hit something below. The hotelier had expected he had damaged his propeller in his inboard-outboard motor on the rudder, so it wasn't exactly an emergency, but they did need a tow back to shore. 3 minutes later, a cutter was sent out by the Coast Guard to find the Witchcraft. At 9:19, searchlights scanned the area between the buoys, but it seemed the yacht had disappeared without a trace. There were no life jackets, debris, bodies, or any float stand in the area. Whatever may have happened to the ill-named Witchcraft, it was clean and quick. Burak was expected to fire an emergency flare to signal the cutter where the vessel was located. The Coast Guard expanded the search by a 1,200-square-foot radius and requested all private vessels as far as BME to be on the lookout. Eventually, the Coast Guard searched as far as the Gulf Stream in case of an errant squall that would later hit shore that night, pulling them further from port. The squall itself would churn the seas at a moderate 4 to 6 feet in swells. Despite all efforts, the search was called off on December 28, 1967, after covering a 24,500 square foot radius without a sign of ever being found. The strangest part about this was the complete disappearance of the cabin cruiser itself, as the vessel had a built-in flotation and was deemed unsinkable by none other than Burak himself. He was a well-known stickler for maritime safety and had plenty of life-saving gear on board. Even if the hull was fully flooded, the vessel's gravity weight would have rendered it a navigational hazard. Burak had also told the Coast Guard that he would launch a signal flare to direct them into his exact position. So even if the squall did pull him out, he would still have time to fire it off and keep contact with the RCC Miami. To this day, no explanation could be given for Burak and Horrigan's sudden disappearance. It seemed that whatever the case may have been, there was an event so unexpected he didn't have time to fire the flare. Yet there were no implications that the Witchcraft sank, so this resulted in a bewildering verdict. The Witchcraft was missing, but not lost at sea. Because of the confounding nature of the disappearance, the Witchcraft has been a subject of clickbait and spaghetti-on-the-wall rumors in recent years. Even while writing this script, the Macabre Tavern had difficulty finding sources that would seem credible. Living relatives have speculated that Dan Burak had orchestrated his disappearance or was into shady business that had a hit on him, and Father Horrigan was simply at the wrong place at the wrong time. This, of course, was at the era of literary figures like Tony Rome and mobsters Gianoveses, Frank Sinatra himself was living in Florida at the time and was under contract with local studios to make movies there. He made Assault on a Queen in 1965 and played the title role of Tony Rome in 1967, as well as its sequel, Lady in Cement. These films give us a glimpse of Miami in the late 1960s. Organized crime, drugs, and racketeering. But how would this shadow under the glamorous lights of Miami involve a hotelier and a Catholic priest? This cruise was spur of the moment, and mobsters wouldn't fake a mayday call. They would simply wait until he was alone. Buoy number 7 is a short distance away from Government Cut and could easily have been seen off maps, so it is safe to say the circumstances did not favor a mob hit. So now, dear listener, we'd like to invite you to give your thoughts on what happened to the Witchcraft. If you've liked what you've heard tonight, please give us a like and subscribe, as we'll be back next week. And may the fair winds guide you through dangerous times.